the other interesting factor then is to say about my trade in New Zealand, how that in a way it indirectly links to here. So I grew up in New Zealand after my schooling, and I was offered an apprenticeship I grew up in Christchurch, New Zealand, which is in the South Island, which unfortunately has been devastated by earthquake and even ongoing quakes now. Yeah. And I was offered an apprenticeship in the Christchurch Press Company, which is one of two big city newspapers for Christchurch and the whole of the South Island. The Christchurch Press Company was a morning newspaper, so there was a lot of shift work, because all the typesetting and all the printing was done at night, for the morning paper. So I was offered an apprenticeship as what is generally called in those days a linotype mechanic. That's a general term. That's typesetting machine mechanic or engineering, and that's a 5-year apprentice. Now, when I was interviewed for the job, the elderly chap who turned out was going to be my new foreman said to me when he asked where I come from, because remember then I had an English accent, so to them I was a little pommy kid. So he said to me, so all right, you say you come from Hemel Hempstead? He said, oh, there's something about the Hemel Hempstead. And I said, yes, I come from Hemel Hempstead. Actually, I would have said, because I would have said more than Hemel Hempstead, really. It's only in later years I generalised Hemel Hempstead. And he said, well, then you'd know about he would have said to this is my memories, he would have said, you'd know about the Basildon papers they made in Hemel Hempstead or in Apsley, where they invented, or they were one of the early ones who had the paper making, the web sheet. Web sheet. And of course I said, well, I remember the old paper making factories, because we used to take newspapers to this factory. Well, there we are on the other side of the world, an old typesetting tradesman who knew, and he was not English, he was a born New Zealander, never been over the side of the world. They knew that this is where paper making was invented in the web sheet.
Yeah, that's very true. If you look at the map of the of Dickinson Empire, which it surely was. Yes. I mean, it spreads all over the world, and right in the middle is Apsley. Yeah. And that always strikes me as very sort of...
Yeah, and the word Frogmore. Yeah. Because I always remembered that yes, there was Apsley, and a part of Apsley was Frogmore, and then a bit further up was Two Waters. And they were the three, and further back there was Nash Mills. So they were that was my memory of names. So yes, so you imagine when he said, oh well, you can't. Well, he said you're in the right trade. He said, because although we don't make our paper here in the press company, New Zealand was into making paper, big web sheet newsprint from the big white pine forests plantations. Yeah, and so and of course I would see the great big reels of paper that used to go on the press. Now I didn't really work too much on the press running. I worked on the linotype side of it. So there was a link, so that when I came back in the first time, I was able to think, my gosh, yes, look at that. Here I was apprenticed in New Zealand in the typesetting or printing associated type equipment, and yet I could have been, if they never sent me away, I could have grown up and given my workforce to my own town. And by sending me away, although I wasn't ready for the workforce then, a few years later, they were bringing in Londoners and people from overseas. A good thing, they were being helpful to these people, I'm not criticising that, but they offered them jobs and they sent one of their own flesh and blood to the other side of the empire. Yeah. So that's an amazing thing.